first time in my life, I let go of the fear of judgment. I didn't care what anybody else saw or thought. In that moment, I worshiped God. And as I sang out to him, his spirit came over me and put me on my face. I lost the strength in my limbs because I was overcome and overwhelmed by the love of God as I fell at his feet and worshiped him for the first time in my life, actually surrendered, just him and me. So when I read a story like this, or an account of someone like King Lamoni who hears the message of the gospel and receives it in such a way that his heart begins to sing that song of redeeming love. It's what Alma talked about. Good morning, shalom, shalom. Today we are going to be reading from the stick of Joseph in the hand of Ephraim. I love this record so much. This is the prophesied record by Ezekiel when he said that there will be two sticks joined together in one hand, one for the stick of Joseph, for the tribe of Joseph, I should say, and the other for the stick of the Jews. And today we're going to be reading section out of chapter 12, which is beautiful. We're going to talk about some beautiful, about a beautiful conversion. And let's just get to it. It says, "And it came to pass that King Lamoni caused that his servants should stand forth and testify to all the things which they had seen concerning this matter." So if you remember, like Ammon just went and defended the king's flocks and chopped off these guys' arms and knocked out some guys with his sling and his stone, and the Spirit of the Lord was upon him to magnify him, to protect those who he was serving. And when they had all testified to the things which they had seen, he had learned of the faithfulness of Ammon in preserving his flocks, and also of his great power in contending against those who sought to slay him. He was astonished exceedingly and said, "Surely this is more than a man. Behold, is this not the great Spirit who does send such great punishments upon this people because of their murders?" And they answered the king and said, "Whether he be the great Spirit or a man, we know not. But this much we do know, that he cannot be slain by the enemies of the king. Neither can they scatter the king's flocks when he is with us because of his expertness and great strength. Therefore, we know that he is a friend to the king. And now, O king, we do not believe that a man has such great power, for we know that he cannot be slain." And now when the king heard these words, he said unto them, "Now I know that this is the great Spirit, and he has come down at this time to preserve your lives, that I may not slay you as I did your brothers. Now this is the great Spirit of whom our fathers have spoken." Now this was the tradition of Lamoni, which he received from his father, that there was a great Spirit. Even though they believed in a great Spirit, they supposed that whatsoever they did was right. Nevertheless, Lamoni began to fear exceedingly, with fear that he had done wrong in slaying his servants, for he had slain many of them, because their brothers had scattered their flocks at the place of water. And thus, because they had had their flocks scattered, they were slain. Now it was the practice of these Lamanites to stand by the water of Sebus, to scatter the flocks of the people, that thereby they might drive away any that were scattered unto their own land, it being a practice of plunder among them. And it came to pass that King Lamoni inquired of his servants, saying, "Where is this man that has such great power?" And they said unto him, "Behold, he's feeding your horses." Now the king had commanded his servants, previous to the time of the watering of their flocks, that they should prepare his horses and his chariots, and conduct him forth to the land of Nephi. For there had been a great feast appointed at the land of Nephi by the father of Lamoni, who is the king over all the land. Now when King Lamoni heard that Ammon was preparing his horses and his chariots, he was more astonished because of the faithfulness of Ammon, saying, Surely there has not been any servant among all my servants that has been so faithful as this man, for even he does remember all my commandments to execute them. Now I surely know that this is the Great Spirit, and I would desire him that he come in unto me, but I dare not. I want to pause there for a second and just pose a question. What a powerful example of what it is to be a servant. And my question is, as you serve your neighbor, or maybe your employer or your family, is this the kind of impression that you're leaving? That you're willing to serve and do those things faithfully? That's what came to mind. I was thinking, man, he just went and he chopped off he went and he protected the king's flocks, and he didn't shift to celebrate with everyone else. He just went about doing his job diligently and faithfully, just executing. And I hope that, I develop that kind of servanthood, or adopt that kind of leadership within myself, to be able to continue to just serve like Ammon did. And it came to pass that when Ammon had made ready the horses and the chariots for the king and his servants, he went in unto the king. And he saw that the countenance of the king was changed. Therefore he was about to return out of his presence, and one of the king's servants said unto him, Rabbana, which is being interpreted, powerful or great king, considering their kings to be powerful. And thus he said unto him, Rabbana, the king desires you to stay. Therefore Ammon turned himself unto the king and said unto him, What will you that I should... Sorry about that. Ammon turned himself unto the king and said unto him, What will you that I should do for you, O king? And the king answered him not for the space of an hour, according to their time, for he knew not what to say unto him. Can you imagine standing in front of someone in silence for an hour? What would that feel like? I don't think I've ever thought about that, but here he is standing after an hour, and then it came to pass that Ammon said unto him again, What do you desire of me? But the king answered him not. And it came to pass that Ammon, being filled with the Ruach Elohim, the Spirit of the Lord, he perceived the thoughts of the king. And he said unto him, Is it because you have heard that I defended your servants and your flocks, and slew 7 of their brothers with the sling and with the sword, and cut off the arms of the others in order to defend your flocks and your servants? Behold, is it this that causes your marvelings? I say unto you, why is it that your marvelings are so great? Behold, I am a man, and am your servant. Therefore, whatsoever you desire, which is right, that will I do. Now when the king had heard these words, he marveled again, for he beheld that Ammon could discern his thoughts. But despite this, King Lamoni did open his mouth and say unto him, Who are you? Are you that great spirit who knows all things? Ammon answered and said unto him, I am not. And the king said, How do you know the thoughts of my heart? You may speak boldly and tell me concerning these things, and also tell me by what power you slew and cut off the arms of my brothers that scattered my flocks. And now if you will tell me concerning these things, whatsoever you desire I will give unto you. And if it were needed, I would guard you with my armies. But I know that you are more powerful than they all. Nevertheless, whatsoever you desire of me, that I will grant unto you. Now Ammon, being wise yet harmless, he said to Lamoni, Will you hearken unto my words if I tell you by what power I do these things? And this is the thing that I desire of you. And the king answered him and said, Yes, I will believe all your words. And thus he was caught by the craftiness of Ammon. And Ammon began to speak unto him with boldness, and said unto him, Do you believe that there is an Elohim? And he answered unto him, I don't know what that means. And then Ammon said, Do you believe that there is a great spirit? And he said, Yes. And Ammon said, This is Elohim. And Ammon said unto him again, Do you believe that this great spirit, who is Elohim, created all things which are in the heaven and the earth? And he said, Yes, I believe that he created all things which are in the earth, but I do not know the heavens. And Ammon said unto him, The heavens are a place where Elohim dwells, and all his holy angels. And King Lamoni said, Is it above the earth? And Ammon said, Yes. And he looks down upon all the children of men, and he knows all the thoughts and intents of the heart, for by his hand were they all created from the beginning. And King Lamoni said, I believe all these things which you have spoken. Are you sent from Elohim? Ammon said unto him, I am a man, and man in the beginning was created after the image of Elohim. And I am called by his Holy Spirit to teach these things unto the people, that they may be brought to a knowledge of that which is just and true. And a portion of that Spirit dwells in me, which gives me knowledge and also power, according to my faith and desires which are in Elohim. Now when Ammon had said these words, he began at the creation of the world, and also at the creation of Adam, and told him all things concerning the fall of man, and rehearsed and laid before him the records and the holy scriptures of the people which had been spoken of by the prophets, even down to the time that their father Lehi left Jerusalem. And he also rehearsed unto them, for he spoke unto the king and to his servants, all the journeyings of their fathers in the wilderness, and all their sufferings with hunger and thirst, and their travel, and so forth. And he rehearsed unto them concerning the rebellions of Laman and Lemuel, the sons of Ishmael. Yes, all their rebellions did he relate unto them. And he expounded unto them all the records and scriptures from that time that Lehi left Jerusalem down to the present time. But this is not all. For he explained unto them the plan of redemption, which was prepared from the foundation of the world. And he also made known unto them concerning the coming of Mashiach. And all the works of Yahweh did he make known unto them. And it came to pass that after he had said all of these things and expounded them to the king, that the king believed on all his words. And he began to cry out to Yahweh, saying, O Adon, O Lord, have mercy according to your abundant mercy, which you have had upon the people of Nephi. Have also upon me and upon my people. And now when he said this, he fell into the earth as if he were dead. And it came to pass that his servants took him and carried him up unto his wife and laid him in a bed. And he lay as if he were dead for the space of 2 days and 2 nights. His wife and sons and daughters mourned after him in the manner of the Lamanites, greatly lamenting his loss. What a powerful manifestation of the Spirit, right? I never really considered what it would be like when I first heard that story, and then through most of my life, I never really considered what it would be like to have that kind of experience with the Lord. That's not the first time that we go into the scriptures and we learn of someone who has all of this truth presented to them. They receive it and it's like instant. I don't know if it's instant, but it's like the Spirit overcomes them and puts them down, laid him down for days, right? Well, a few years ago, actually about 11 years ago, when the Lord began to speak to me and give me commandments, I was led to go to another church for a time. And when I went to this other church, me coming from an LDS background, I was always reverent, and the non-denominational praise and worship teams on Sunday just really wasn't my jam, because I was used to sacrament meeting being a worship service that was very reverent. But I'm led to go to this church for a space of time, and interestingly, I had just come out of addiction, and the Lord is speaking to me. I had experiences feeling His love And I thought that, like Ammon, I was going to another congregation to go take them the truth, right? The fullness of the gospel. But in reality, the Lord was going to teach me surrender. So fast forward a couple months, I'm still going to this church and I'm still kind of awkwardly there during their worship services, kind of stiff, and they're playing music. Everyone else is worshiping God with their hands up, and you could just see that they're loose and they're free. But me, I'm just still kind of like unsure how to be. Well, then, the Spirit, I had some experiences with the Spirit this particular Sunday, that really softened my heart. So the next Sunday, I go to church again, to that church, and this song comes on. Holy Spirit, you are welcome here. Come flood this place and fill the atmosphere. And that's a song that I had heard over the few months that I was there, a couple months I was there. And so I started singing that song. And as I started singing to the Lord, my hands went up and I just started worshiping him. And I sang, and for the first time in my life, I let go of the fear of judgment. I didn't care what anybody else saw or thought. In that moment, I worshiped God. And as I sang out to him, his Spirit came over me and put me on my face. I lost the strength in my limbs because I was overcome and overwhelmed by the love of God as I fell at his feet and worshiped him for the first time in my life, actually surrendered, just him and me. So when I read a story like this, or an account of someone like King Lamoni who hears the message of the gospel and receives it in such a way that his heart begins to sing that song of redeeming love. It's what Alma talked about. And so great was the power of God upon this man that he was placed down. He rested within his temple. His spirit, I'm sure, had a marvelous experience. In fact, in the next chapter, we're going to read, oh yeah, sounds very easy, but it's super difficult to do. Surrender. It's really hard because at least for me, I want to be in control. Not that I have to be in control of everything, but I feel like I have to have a sense of knowing what's going on. But to surrender, it requires trust, like a trust fall. I can't surrender myself to leaning back and falling if I don't trust the people that are behind me to catch me. So my hope today is that as you study out the scriptures, I invite you, go and consider the words for yourself in the record, and go to the Lord. Ask him if there's anything that's coming between you and him. What is it that you're having a hard time letting go of? And then, like King Lamoni, just receive his love, receive his light, receive his truth. And if his Spirit comes upon you and puts you down and you need to go take a nap about it, that's cool. Like, that's going to be some really great sleep. Turn to him, though. Turn to him, surrender. I love you guys. And I pray that the peace of God be upon you and your family today. Peace be with you all.